This was the first time we saw Paige really get guarded. This is where we saw what is going to happen in year 2. This is the scout report that needs to be out there on Paige Bueckers once the Dallas Wings get good, because Dallas Wings are going to get good at some stage in her career. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can shut up the comparisons, right?
What happens when the media's golden child finally gets a taste of real basketball? 2 minutes ago, we witnessed something that sent shockwaves through the WNBA community. Paige Bueckers, the player everyone said was better than Caitlin Clark, just got absolutely dismantled on national television. And folks, this wasn't just a bad game. This was a complete and utter exposure of everything we've been trying to tell you.
Oh, she's better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, stab me in the eye with a spoon, for Christ's sakes. Wow. So that's a thing right now. Last night, Paige Bueckers dropped 44 points. And we're going to look at a video that just dissects and exposes a lot of that shit. Let me tell you. It exposes a lot of stuff involving Paige Bueckers getting special treatment on the court.
Months. For the first time in her professional career, Paige Bueckers faced the same brutal treatment that Caitlin Clark has been enduring every single night since she stepped foot in this league. The results?
Davis Cat Engelbert is breathing a sigh of relief. Her pretend friends in the mainstream media, they are trying to crown a new star. If the media has it their way, this could potentially be the new face of pretend basketball. And it's not just the woke media. There are even some in conservative media who are voluntarily biting into the shit sandwich. Headline at Outkick: "No Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save the WNBA season."
Absolutely devastating. 11 points on 2 of 11 shooting. 0 assists. 0. Let that sink in for a moment. The player who was supposed to be the next face of women's basketball just put up numbers that would make a high school JV player embarrassed. But here's where this story gets really interesting, and why what happened on August 22nd will go down as one of the most important nights in WNBA history. See, this wasn't just any ordinary game. This
little bit different, huh? It's a little bit different out here when you get Caitlin Clark treatment. It ain't so easy peasy getting to play one-on-one, getting to just do your thing how you want to do it, when you want to do it. Paige Bueckers got the Caitlin Clark treatment for one game, and it
was the night the Seattle Storm decided to give Paige Bueckers exactly what Caitlin Clark has been dealing with since day one. And the results are more telling than anyone could have imagined. Let's rewind to just days before this disaster. Paige Bueckers had just dropped 44 points against the Los Angeles Sparks, shooting an absolutely insane 80% from the field. The media went crazy. Headlines everywhere screamed about
4 points, but the craziest part about that was her shooting percentage. She shot over 80% from the field, and I tweeted about that, and I was like, that's actually insane. Give props where they are due. Shooting over 80%, scoring 44 points is actually insane. But with this game, like, Paige Bueckers she put on a masterclass in scoring, and I think with that, these are some big numbers, and those are some props that need
her efficiency, her poise, her supposedly superior basketball IQ. ESPN had her ranked 13th in their mid-season rankings. Conservative outlets like Outkick were literally writing articles titled, "No Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save the WNBA season." The hype train was at full throttle, and everyone was buying first-class tickets to the Paige Bueckers experience. She became the fastest player to reach 200 points and 50 assists in just 11 games. One game quicker than...
Again, you said it's going to be important to be physical with like Paige Bueckers. Can you talk about the defensive game plan for Dallas and like how your team was able to hold them to their fewest points of the season?
Yeah, it started, with our attention to detail with Paige. I thought, Slim was very physical, stayed in her space, and the actions that we guarded her in, we were very aggressive, showed multiple bodies, and kind of made her hesitant to use the ball screen a little bit. I thought we rotated well. And everyone who ended up being on Paige from E on down, I thought.
Clark. The media painted this as undeniable proof that Bueckers was more polished, more ready for the professional level. They were practically ready to crown her as not just Clark's equal, but her superior. The manufactured narrative was in full swing, and it seemed like nothing could stop it. But here's the thing about hype. It's just hot air until it meets cold, hard reality. And reality has a name, and that name is elite level defense with a purpose. Walking into Seattle, Bueckers was expecting another coronation ceremony. Instead,
she got Caitlin Clark treatment for the first time in her career, and it looked bad. It looked real bad. Everybody was running around. Yeah, she was cooking. 44 points versus the Sparks. They didn't play a lick of defense, letting this girl play one-on-one basketball in every area of the floor, letting her post up in the mid-range area one-on-one. Now, I'm giving credit. She's a bucket in one-on-one, especially from that mid-range, from the free throw line down area. But this is the first time we watch teams actively be persistent about taking away her spots and what she wants to do.
Walked straight into a buzzsaw that exposed every single crack in her supposedly flawless game. The Storm's coaching staff, led by Noelle Quinn, had been watching tape. They saw what happened against the Sparks, a team that basically let Bueckers play one-on-one basketball in every area of the floor. They watched her feast on soft defense and easy looks, posting up in the mid-range area without any real resistance. But Seattle had other plans. Before the game, Coach Quinn said something that should have been a warning to everyone paying attention. After scoring...
And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed in doubles? She passed. Paige Bueckers, look, she played decent amount early in the game. The game was kind of over and she got subbed out. Paige Bueckers shot 7 times. Paige shot the ball
44 the other night. It was in a variety of different ways. Translation: time to see if this princess can handle what Caitlin Clark faces every single night. The moment Bueckers touched the ball, she knew something was different. Brittany Sykes was draped all over her like a second skin. Skylar Diggins was providing help defense. Gabby Williams was rotating perfectly. Erica Wheeler was there for support. This wasn't the casual, almost respectful defense she'd been seeing all season. This was aggressive, physical, in-your-face basketball designed to make her uncomfortable. And it worked immediately. Bueckers looked hesitant to even use ball screens. Every possession was a battle. Every shot was contested. Every move was met with multiple bodies and aggressive hands. For the first time in her professional career, she was getting the Caitlin Clark treatment.
Lucas, let me ask you this. How did it feel to be blitzed and played 94 feet before you even get a chance to bring the ball up court like your name was Caitlin Clark, a.k.a. my precious Cece? You didn't like that, huh? You hear me? You out there was looking like you was about to cry. Yeah, so what do your fans have to say now? Excuse me, where are you Paige Bueckers fans at? That's y'all MVP and face of the league, right? She's boring. She's not good enough. She gets special treatment. But understand, she kept getting blitz after blitz after blitz after...
They had absolutely no idea how to handle it. The numbers tell the entire story, but they don't even capture how bad it really looked on the court. 2 made field goals out of 11 attempts. That's not just poor shooting. That's complete offensive collapse. 0 assists from a player who was supposed to be more cerebral than Clark. 0 assists means she couldn't even find her teammates when the defense locked in on her. She was out there looking lost, confused, and frankly, scared. But here's what makes this even more damning. Let's talk about what Caitlin Clark has been dealing with all season while putting up historic numbers. 17% of all flagrant fouls committed in the 2024 WNBA season were against one player, Caitlin Clark. That's not basketball, that's target practice. The Chicago Sky alone accounted for 80% of the flagrant fouls against Clark. Teams have been literally trying to hurt her as a defensive strategy. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers has been floating through games like she's playing in a college scrimmage, getting the kid gloves treatment from every team she's faced. And the very first moment, one team decided to guard her like the superstar she supposedly was, she completely disappeared. The contrast is absolutely staggering when you really break it down. The media love to crow about Bueckers' shooting efficiency, 47.4% from the field compared to Clark's rookie season, 41.7%. They painted this as evidence that Bueckers was more polished, more ready for the professional level, but they conveniently ignored the context. Clark was taking the hardest shots in the league while being defended like she had a target painted on her jersey. Bueckers' pretty shooting percentages were built on a foundation of soft defense and easy looks. The moment Seattle decided to flip the script and treat her like an actual threat, those percentages crumbled like a house of cards in a tornado. This is the same player who shot 7 times in an entire game. 7 times. When you get doubled and blitzed like Caitlin Clark does every night, you're supposed to find your teammates. You're supposed to make the defense pay for sending extra help. Instead, Bueckers just passed the ball and disappeared. Let's be brutally honest about what we witnessed. When Clark gets blitzed, and she gets blitzed constantly, she finds ways to get her teammates open looks. She creates assists even when she can't score. She impacts winning even when her shot isn't falling. That's what superstars do. That's what transcendent players do. They find ways to affect the game even when everything is stacked against them. Bueckers got a tiny taste of that treatment and folded faster than a lawn chair in a hurricane. She was minus 17 on the floor. Minus 17. Her team was actively worse when she was playing. That's not the mark of a superstar. That's not even the mark of a good player having a bad night. That's the mark of someone who is completely overwhelmed by the moment. The Seattle Storm didn't just beat Paige Bueckers. They created a blueprint that every team in the league should be studying. They showed exactly how to neutralize a player who had been feasting on favorable matchups and soft defensive schemes. It's going to take not only the primary defender on her, but our second and third layers of defense to really be locked into the actions that she receives. Quinn explained after the game. They treated her like a superstar, and she couldn't handle it. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark has been dealing with this level of defensive attention since her very first game in the league. Teams have been putting multiple defenders on her, hitting her with hard fouls, and doing everything short of actual assault to stop her. And she's still rewriting the record books. She's still putting up historic numbers. She's still making her teammates better and her team competitive. Now, Bueckers' defenders will point to her injury history. They'll talk about her torn ACL, her time away from the game, how she's still finding her rhythm. But that's exactly the point. Clark never got the luxury of excuses. She came into the WNBA and immediately became public enemy number 1. She faced the hardest defensive schemes, the most physical play, and the most scrutiny from day one. She didn't get a grace period. She didn't get easy games to build confidence. She got thrown into the fire and came out looking like a Hall of Famer. And here's the kicker. Even with all the media hype, even with all the manufactured records, even with the softball treatment from opposing defenses, the Dallas Wings are still a complete disaster. They're 9-28 on the season, already eliminated from playoff contention, and looking like they wasted the number 1 pick on Fool's Gold. Compare that to what Caitlin Clark did for the Indiana Fever. She took a team that was one of the worst in the league and turned them into must-see television. She filled arenas, broke viewership records, and made the WNBA relevant to casual sports fans for the first time in years. She didn't just improve her team's record, she improved the entire league's profile. Bueckers can't even win games in a season where everyone was giving her the benefit of the doubt. What happens when teams start giving her the Caitlin Clark treatment every night? If August 22nd was any indication, it's going to be a long, painful education in what real superstardom looks like. The most frustrating part of this entire charade has been watching the media desperately try to manufacture a rivalry that doesn't exist. They've spent months trying to convince us that Paige Bueckers was not just comparable to Caitlin Clark, but actually superior. They pointed to shooting percentages while ignoring context. They highlighted efficiency numbers while overlooking the level of defensive attention each player faced. One game against actual defense exposed all of that as nothing more than media manipulation. The Emperor had no clothes, and everyone finally got to see it on national television. Here's the harsh reality that the WNBA and its media partners need to accept. There is no next Caitlin Clark. Clark isn't just a great player. She's a generational talent who changed the entire sport. She's the Tiger Woods of women's basketball, the player who transcended the game and brought it to mainstream audiences. Paige Bueckers isn't the next Caitlin Clark. She's just another talented player who got caught up in a hype machine that was desperate to manufacture the next big thing. When she finally faced the same challenges that Clark overcomes on a nightly basis, she wilted under the pressure completely. The agenda has been exposed. The manufactured hype has been deflated. August 22nd, 2025 will be remembered as the night reality came crashing down on their carefully constructed narrative. Paige Bueckers got her reality check, and it bounced higher than her shooting percentage against Seattle. Caitlin Clark remains the gold standard, the player who not only elevated her own game, but elevated the entire sport. Everyone else is just playing for second place, and based on what we saw in Seattle, some aren't even qualified for that.